LoganZone.com.
And now, you just crossed over into the Logan Zone. From ECU Pirate football to the whole college landscape to basically anything else that's on his mind, Coach Steve Logan's talking about it now.
You don't coach at East Carolina. You don't come to East Carolina. You don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart.
Tweet at Steve Logan Show with your takes or call 252-561-GAME for your spot in the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. Now, here's Steve Logan.
Welcome in, everyone, to the divisional round episode of the Logan Zone. Philip Pilkington here alongside the coach, Steve Logan. Here in about 20 minutes, we're going to be joined by the voice of the Pirates and analyst on the Panthers radio network, Jim Szoke, to put a wrap on the Carolina Panthers season, which saw them win their first NFC South title in 10 years and saw their first playoff berth in 8. But before that, we are going to be talking a lot of college football with Coach Logan, as the portal will be closing in just over 24 hours for all of the college athletes to enter on the football side of things. Obviously, still more time to get enrolled in school. So now we're going to welcome in the host of the Logan Zone, Coach Steve Logan. How's it going, Coach?
All right, Pilk, what's up, man? You got the lumberjack look going today. I like the shirt, the hat, a little bit of beard. You been out cutting wood?
I need to. I need to get a workout in. That's what I need. I did go for a run yesterday. Today was cold, though. I did not want to be running. Chopping wood would have been good, but yeah, it was cold. I needed the flannel on to, stay warm. This wind's a little.
You do have the lumberjack look going. Well, listen. This show today. Every week, as I've mentioned before, I'll start tomorrow morning looking for content for next week's show. So all morning or all week long, I wake up in the morning, get my coffee, and I'm cruising around on all these sports sites. And the chaos, the absolute chaos that is unfolding in college football, and it's dawning on everybody now, there are no rules. And this college sports commission that I kind of tried to educate everybody to a couple of shows ago, they are trying to get a grip on this thing, and with no success so far, because everything is going to, if the college sports commission comes in and tells you, hey, you can't do that, well, they just immediately take it to court. And guess what? Nothing is enforceable as we're moving forward here. So having said that, I've got note after note after note of things I want to mention on the show today just to prove about the college chaos, which, by the way, did you see where the general manager, this is another offshoot of portal insanity, did you see where the general manager at St. John's, the big basketball school, embezzled $1 million NIL dollars to his personal bank account, and guess what? Here comes the FBI, which the other thing, which you just can't make this stuff up, can you? You got stupid on top of stupid, right?
Yeah.
So the next thing I saw was, I think I shared with Henry Hinton on one of the previews a week or so ago, we were talking about, I was talking to a general manager at a Power 4 school, and the man told me, I said, what's it like? What's going on with all this monkey business? He said, Steve, I was on the phone with a football player's agent, and I just got the feeling this guy didn't really know what was going on or how it was going on, and some of the conversation just got really sideways. We've come to find out he was talking to the players' freshman dorm roommate. That was the agent. And so, having said that, sure enough, it wasn't 10 minutes later, I'm, cruising around on the sports sites. Well, guess what? The College Sports Commission and the NCAA, they're coming in now, and they're gonna have to Well, let me back up. To be an agent in the NFL, you want to represent an NFL football player, you got to be registered, legit registered. And you have to submit that to the NFL before anybody in the NFL would dare even talk to you as a representative of a National Football League football player, for just the reasons that the college boys are finding out now. It's a shyster haven. These guys, for them to, these bloodsuckers come in, and of course, at the collegiate level right now, they're getting 20%. NFL, I had an agent in the NFL. Tom Brady's agent, Don Yee, was my agent that I hired to handle my NFL contracts. You know how much I paid Don Yee? 3%. That's routine. It's 3%, not 20. And these knucklehead kids, to allow somebody to take 20%, it's just like, the whole thing is just so, there's so much education that's got to go on for all of the college folks. And of course, you've got 18, 19-year-old kids getting thrown into this whirlpool, getting spun around. They don't know if it's come here or sick them. But anyway, having said all that, and I'm going to get to, I've got tons and tons of insanity to get to, but Pilk, back to you now. Okay, now that I've set up the chaos of the portal, I have seen, for our East Carolina audience, I saw where it just looked like East Carolina had maybe, am I exaggerating if I said 8 to 10 starting football players taken from their football team in the portal? Is that fairly accurate?
I'd have to go down through here and count, Coach, but 24 total were taken. And, yeah, just looking at the top here, but about 8 by looking at this.
Okay, so, that's a heck of a hit. So having said that, and you're right there, you got your pulse on all that, give the audience kind of a thumbnail of, has Coach Harrell, reloaded, rebuilt the roster? And, of course, I would caution everybody, when I was recruiting, at the end of every recruiting season, all the people would call and they'd, how'd recruiting go? Well, nobody ever had a bad recruiting year. Everybody said, we got the guys we wanted and this, that, and the other. But having said that, that's what everybody's going to say about their portal class. So having set it up that way, what's the latest in Greenville with the rebuilding of the roster?
Yeah, so let's start with the defense side of the ball, Coach. It's a little easier. Jamarly Riddle did hit the portal. He was the only starting defensive player that had any eligibility remaining. And look, on the defensive side of the ball, it's been the same kind of mindset as it was a year ago. We're going to bring in a lot of guys who have proven themselves in the Sun Belt or Conference USA, and a couple guys who are at the power levels. Got a kid coming in, a corner from Minnesota, safety from Central Florida, who maybe didn't play as much as they wanted to. And we're just trying to bring in as many guys as possible and hope that we have a starting lineup pan out. That's what they did last year on the defensive side of the ball, and it worked out pretty darn well. And
hold that thought right there, Philip. Let me comment on that strategy, okay? People have asked me, hey, Steve, how is it that you always had a good quarterback? And for the most part, I did. And that goes all the way back to the University of Tulsa in 1982 when I first began to coordinate offenses. And here was my strategy. The first thing to building or acquiring talent from Steve Logan's perspective was, I'm going to admit that I cannot tell who is going to be really, really good. I would go out and almost routinely every year I would bring in 3 quarterbacks. Almost all the time I brought in 3 quarterbacks that were mobile athletes, high school athletic quarterbacks that could run, knowing that when I finally found the one that would hopefully be my starting quarterback, the other 2 would go and contribute as a wide receiver, safety, corner, whatever the case may be. And that's exactly the way things panned out in my career. So I said that to point to what you're saying. It looks like Blake Harreld's idea. Just go get a bunch of athletes and go out on the practice field and let the truth come out. And I'll tell you what used to scare me to death, and it really scared me when I got into the NFL. I'd be in an NFL draft meeting and, Mr. Hotshot Know-It-All, I've been in the NFL for 20 years. This guy right here is going to be a first-round starter, no doubt about it. And I respected it, but it scared me. And this is why you've got, for instance, Brock Purdy, the last quarterback picked in the draft, is one of the very top 2 to 3 quarterbacks in the National Football League. And so there you go. So having said that, I'm just complimenting what you just said. It looks like Blake Harrell, has that. It requires some humility to say, I'm not sure. But by saying I'm not sure, I think it puts you in position to be more successful than the guy who's just so sure. Okay? So I'm all about what you're describing with Coach Harrell. Bring them in. Bring a lot of them in, as many as you can, and put them out on the field, and the true colors will come out. So back to you.
Yep. So now we're going to go back over to the offensive side of the ball now, Coach. 3 offensive linemen have been brought in, 2 guys that are listed as interior, one of which they say can actually play 4 of the 5 spots, and then 1 guy who could be a tackle on either side. They are banking on some of the backup offensive linemen from last year that did play sporadically throughout the season and played pretty well to be the bulk of the offensive lineman, as well as a young man named Carson Jones, who's a transfer from Houston a couple years back that suffered a season-ending injury in the summer this year. They're banking on him being a huge addition to the offensive line as well. Now, when it comes to the offensive skill players, this is a little bit more of a mixed bag. You've got some guys coming from lower programs that have been successful. You got a kid coming from Miami who didn't play a lot, and then there's some guys that are coming from in the conference who've played really well. That are coming over on the offensive side of the football. The offensive guys, few more proven guys in the American Conference or equal to, and then so they got a big-time receiver, or not big time, but a big body receiver from Furman. They've gone down, gotten some guys from places like Kennesaw State, and then the big one is Mitch Griffiths, the backup quarterback at Texas Tech, has made his way over to the East Carolina Pirates. This will give us 2 scholarship quarterbacks, along with Cole Hodge, who is a redshirt freshman this year. Then there's a freshman coming in, a true freshman, that I believe is going to be a walk-on. So still a little thin on the quarterback room, hoping to land at least 1 more of those. But a lot of bodies brought in that wide receiver room, especially a couple running backs. It'd be nice to maybe bring in 1 or 2 more. But, hey, this is the nature of the beast. You can only get so many guys because everybody's picking the same piece of the pie.
Let me ask you about the you said you had some transfers within the conference, which took me by surprise a little bit. So give me what you think functionally what would have happened for a kid, and since they've already transferred, I guess you could be particular and tell our audience, where did these American Athletic Conference receivers, what schools did they come from to East Carolina? Do you have that information?
Yeah, so where they came from is they came from North Texas, which is where our new offensive coordinator came from.
Well, that makes okay.
And they did not get, they were all visited Oklahoma State and were just deemed not good enough to go be a member of the Cowboys in Stillwater. And so they've come into that. And then there's a couple linebackers actually who came over from Memphis as well. So on the defensive side of the ball,
Memphis?
2 young men that came in from Memphis that were actually both Power 5 guys out of college, or out of high school, went down Memphis, saw decent playing time, and then the Memphis coach went to Arkansas, kind of the same deal, wasn't quite good enough to go to the SEC. They're proven players in this conference, so they just said, hey, we'll go to a team where maybe there's a little more stability and a head coach who has won at this level.
That's really interesting, and I on the surface, I would say that the North Texas receivers that are coming with the new offensive coordinator probably will step in and give a pretty quick help. And so those are good gets, it looks like on the surface, but like I say, you never know, man. So, well, that's good information, man. And this whole thing of having to rebuild your roster every year for the old guys like me, it would be terribly, terribly unsettling. But, what you're going to see over the next 10 years, you're going to see the fan bases and the media, and certainly this new crop of young coaches at the collegiate level, they're going to grow up with this being the norm. And the fan bases will adjust, and you're not going to have Billy Bob be your quarterback for 4 years, probably. All right, it's going to change every year, but I think that the college football game is still growing, and I think the college football tournament that they've finally put into place is, it's a golden goose. I think it's going to get bigger, bigger, and bigger, and of course we want to eventually talk about the game coming up Monday night between Miami and Indiana, but it's just a new normal, and the more we see it, the more we acclimate to it. But I will say that there are, at some point, somehow, because again, I've got a ton of kind of one-off pieces of material to get to about all this transfer stuff. Texas, as we sit here, is going to have a $40 million locker room again. Now, let me just point out some things that are happening. And of course, to have Indiana in the national championship, that's enough said about how things can be changed so quickly in this day and age. But let me give you another little example that to me is really an indicator of some things that are going to begin to unfold that are going to be terribly upsetting to some of the blue blood programs. For the North Carolina State fans in this audience, and I know there's a lot of them, you know the name Hollywood Smothers. And I believe I'm accurate. If I'm wrong with the name, somebody call me and correct me. Hollywood Smothers was a good little running back at North Carolina State this year. And he went into the portal. And he went to Alabama. This was just last week. He went to Alabama, and he actually enrolled, and he actually went to some classes. And after about 2 days of that, guess what? He dropped out of Alabama and enrolled at the University of Texas. And I'm not very smart, but I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. And I don't know what happened, but I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. Folks, Alabama University is in the midst, and so is Auburn. And maybe so is Tennessee, some of these SEC blue bloods, Arkansas. They're finding out real quick that unless you have an oil billionaire or a tech billionaire, you're going to have not millionaires, you got to have billionaires interested and involved in your football program if you hope to routinely get into the college football playoffs and one of these days compete for a national championship. And that's just the new normal. Because when I saw that, Alabama university's got money. But as I've explained 1,000 times, what SMU did 2 years ago by literally buying an ACC conference championship, and they were one play away from going right back to the championship this year. And what you saw, Texas Tech has always been a 7-5 Big 12 football team that played good football, and the Lubbock, Texas, and West Texas loves Texas Tech. And bingo, bango. A couple of oil billionaires walked in there and said, "We're tired of 7-5. We're going big time now." And here we go. And they were an 11-2 football team or 12-2 football team, got to the first or second round of the playoffs this year, and they're going to be there from now on. Now, so just get used to it. And of course, you look out at Phil Knight and the Oregon model. Oregon's going to be in the playoffs every year. And I would just deviate a little bit. I will say this for the people that want to fire their football coach for getting into the playoffs and then getting beat in the first round, kind of like the NFL does, okay? When that behavior begins, that's a quick way to ruin your program. Here's what you want. As frustrating as it is for Phil Knight to have Dan Lanning, or before that Mario Cristobal, to have Oregon be 11-1, 11-2, 12-1, 12-2, but not win the national championship, okay? The way to win a national championship is to be there every year. And if you've got that coach that's getting you there every year, for you older folks that are listening to this program, You know exactly what I'm talking about. Do you know how many years Tom Osborne was banging on that national championship door, and it was just never quite good enough? Never quite good enough. Never quite good enough. Bang! Tom Osborne breaks through and gets 2 or 3 national championships. How many years was Bobby Bowden banging on that door at Florida State? Banging on the door, bang! He gets through it. Couple of national championships for Bobby Bowden. This is the way you do it. And so, it's just amazing to me when I see the panic and the insanity that can ensue after you've got a football program really good, in there doing it really right every year, and then all of a sudden they decide they got to have a new football coach. That's a quick way to destroy your program. All right, we're going to take a little break here. When we come back, we're going to go visit with Jim Szoke. The Panthers were NFC champions with 2 minutes, 11 seconds left. Not so fast. There was a guy on the other sideline named Matt Stafford. He had 2 minutes, 11 seconds, and 3 timeouts. So you knew, I knew, everybody knew what was going to happen, and it happened. But I'm fired up for the Panthers because, when you're building a program, you got to dip your toe in the water first. And they certainly did that this year. So y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back with Jim Szoke and a little more football.
It's bow time. 'Tis the season for food and family, but thanks to Bojangles, you don't have to spend hours in the kitchen when loved ones come home for the holidays. Set down the spatula and put away the mixing bowls, because this holiday season, Bojangles is ready to help you celebrate with all your family favorites like Chicken Supreme, Cajun Filet Biscuits, or a big bow box of hand-breaded chicken, scratch-made biscuits, and fixins for the whole family.
At Bojangles, football season is tailgate season, and again this year, Bojangles is proud to partner with ECU Athletics to celebrate Pirate football. No matter where you are on game day, pick up a Bojangles tailgate box with all the chicken, fixins, buttermilk biscuit, and fresh brewed tea hungry fans want. Remember this, Pirate Nation, when you want to step up your game day festivities, it's bow time.
Because the Carolina Legend has everything you're craving. We're talking crispy, juicy chicken loaded with real southern flavor, fluffy, scratch-made buttermilk biscuits, and all the fixins to feed your whole crew faster than you could say touchdown. Order your tailgate today. It's bow time.
Bet365 is paying out before the final whistle.
Check out Bet365's unrivaled early payout offer. When you bet on the team to win and they take a 17-point lead, you get paid no matter the final score. Forget the final whistle and start counting that cash. Hold up. You get early payout on parlays, too.
Download the app and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. Must be physically located in North Carolina. T&Cs apply.
Medlin Chevrolet is your trusted Ayton dealership. Medlin Chevrolet has made their home in Ayton, serving Pitt, Lenoir, and surrounding areas for 7 years. We're growing. Now under construction is our brand new service facility to serve you even better. Try our service department for your work trucks, fleet, and personal vehicles, and you'll be with us for life. Our staff are courteous, service-minded professionals that answer the phones themselves and walk you through your purchase or service journey. Find the perfect vehicle for your lifestyle today at Medlin Chevrolet, Monday through Saturday, Highway 11, Ayton.
Your vehicle packs a load of safety features to protect you in an accident. At North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, it's our job to protect you just as well after an accident. With fast claim service from local agents, our auto coverage is a lot like an airbag. We hope you never need to use it, but we're right there and ready just in case you do. North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance, helping you is what we do best.
In Greenville, contact your local Farm Bureau agent for a quote for your car, home, life, or your health. You'll be working with neighbors you can trust. People like Lynn Sugg, Justin Batts, or Austin Shackelford today. These agents are dedicated to protecting your family and your dreams. These Farm Bureau agents are knowledgeable in a wide range of insurance products, but they are tuned in to the Greenville community. Again, contact Lynn Sugg, Justin Batts, or Austin Shackelford today at Farm Bureau Insurance in Greenville at 252-756-3165. That's 252-756-3165.
North Carolina Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, Farm Bureau Insurance of North Carolina, Inc., Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
NFC, get cash now. NFC, get cash now.
Need a personal loan up to $5,000? National Finance Company is there for you. Get cash now, same-day cash, and fixed monthly payments. Just head over to nfcmoney.com and apply today. Trust the company that has been helping local folks for more than 50 years. National Finance Company. Apply in person at any of their 24 locations or at nfcmoney.com. That's nfcmoney.com.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Cold weather is here, and some families in our area need help to stay warm. Greenville Utilities' Neighbor to Neighbor program provides help for those who need temporary assistance with their heating costs. You can make a difference. Your tax-deductible donation can be added to your GUC bill each month, or you can make a one-time donation. And GUC matches all donations up to $20,000 each year. Consider helping a neighbor stay warm this winter with GUC's Neighbor to Neighbor program. For more information, call 752-7166 or visit GUC.com.
It's bow time. We know there's a lot of breakfast sandwiches out there, but only Bojangles has the legendary Cajun Filet Biscuit. Shake things up with a boldly seasoned chicken breast on a fluffy, made-from-scratch biscuit with bow rounds and your choice of drink. So when you're craving something bold, something different, something that takes breakfast to a whole new level, the Cajun Filet Biscuit is waiting for you, along with crispy bow rounds and a drink. Order in the app or at Bojangles today. It's bow time.
Alrighty, welcome back into the Logan Zone Divisional Round / National Championship Round edition of the show. We are now joined by the voice of the Pirates, Jim Szoke. So we're going to toss it back over to Coach Logan and to Jim Szoke. Take it away, Coach.
All right, back in the Logan Zone we go. We got Szoke in for the final season wrap-up. And, hey, Szoke, we were NFC champions with 2 minutes and 11 seconds left on the clock. And then the moment we scored, this is a truth, the moment we scored, I texted my good friend Henry Hinton, who owns this radio station in half of eastern North Carolina, and he was at the game. The moment we scored, I texted Henry and I said, we just lost. Because Matthew Stafford, 2 minutes and 11 seconds and 3 timeouts. You got no chance, right?
Yeah, you scored too soon. Yeah, Henry texted me a photo of him and Deb in the outdoor section there. He said, if it starts raining, let him into the booth. And he got lucky, though. It never did actually rain much. It barely drizzled, as it turned out there. But you're right. I mean, I'll be honest, credit to the Rams and Matt Stafford, especially that last throw. That's an MVP-type throw. It was well defended. And just it was nothing you could do. Merrick is 6'2", and the tight end Parkinson is 6'7". And then people will talk about the prevent defense, Coach. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit there. But you lose your all-pro Pro Bowl cornerback in J.C. Horn. You want to leave a Caleb Evans out there who barely plays by himself, or do you want to give him some zone of protection and kind of umbrella it a little bit? And so it's kind of like pick your poison. So it's just playing a really good team, the number one offense, and they were able to go down the field to get that touchdown.
Coach, before you start talking X's and O's, do I have every right to be mad at Henry and any other Panthers fan who prayed for no rain? See, we were playing against Matthew Stafford, and I prayed for rain. I kept saying we needed it to rain, and it never rained. I brought my poncho, I brought my rain boots. I was all ready for some rain. I was sitting out there. I was ready to go, and it never rained.
I was praying for a sideways sleet storm, and that didn't happen either. But Szoke, here's a deal for you. Ready? When I was with the 49ers, this actually happened. I forget what game it was because, in the NFL, when you've got a Matthew Stafford, Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, those were the guys that were on the sidelines that I was coaching against during the day, right? And when those guys are on the opposing sideline, and I forget what game it was, and we scored with about 2 minutes left, okay? And our head coach, Jim Tomsula, we had one of those, I forget, it was Eli Manning or somebody was on the other sideline. And our head coach, and I wonder why I don't see this more often, when you've got Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford on the other sideline with 2 to 3 timeouts and over 2 minutes left on the clock, and you've got a 3-point lead, or even a 4-point lead, there is wisdom, okay? And in fact, Belichick did this one time against Tom Brady, and it didn't work. but I'm a fan of this idea. If I was the head coach of the Panthers, the moment that the Panthers scored on Sunday, and I texted Henry and I said, we just lost. If I had been the head coach of the Panthers, and I'm not kidding you, I would have gotten on the headsets to Ejiro, the defensive coordinator. And I would have said, Evie, I want you to blitz Matthew Stafford every snap starting right now. And if they hit an 80-yard post route, good. At least we've got a minute 50, a minute 30, and have the ball last. And I'm telling you, that's not crazy. So comment on that idea.
No, you're right, because you lose your resources of time and timeouts and all that stuff by the slow drip of 8-yard passes and picking up first downs and leaving a soft zone over the middle where he's never going to miss. The only miss was a drop. He was 6 of 7, and Devontae Adams dropped one of them. So he hit the target 7 out of 7 times because that's how good he is. Like, the only way to disrupt him is to get – it doesn't have to be a sack, but you do have to have some chaos and some pressure and get him off his mark a little bit there. But, yeah, you're right. And I thought it was kind of somewhere in between. You said every down. I would have at least mixed it up with some. Like, that way you don't know what's coming. Sometimes you drop into a zone, and then maybe sometimes you bring an extra 1 and maybe 2 and get some pressure up the middle. In particular, he's not going to leave the pocket. Stafford doesn't leave, really. And so I think at least, at the very least, to your point, some combination, if not just try to disrupt it. That's how they beat them the time we beat them 6 weeks ago, was that strap. They got the sack fumble, I should say, by Derek Brown. And that stopped them when they were already in field goal range, was because they came and got that pressure.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, if I were in the Panther building, coaching or playing or ownership, executive, doesn't matter, general manager, I would have a really good feeling about what was accomplished this year. With, you and I talked about this a little bit last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, and, just saying, you got to dip your toe in that water just to even find out what it's all about. And, I mean, Zoke, you've been to 1 million football games in the NFL. And, in fact, I was talking to Henry Hinton about this, too. Playoff football games in the National Football League, they're different. And you don't know how different they are until you have that experience. And so, experience is everything. And so I got to believe just that one football game gives the core of that locker room and the coaching staff a taste of really what it's all about that can be utilized maybe as a springboard to move that thing forward another notch next year. What do you think? Is there some kind of vibe like that after the game?
No, I think 100%. It was almost like a feeling like, let's go play next Sunday. I just think they felt like, that even though the scoreboard said they lost, they held their own against, again, forget what the seedings were. That's just the playoff format. But a team that won 12 games versus the team that went 8 and 9, and they held their own and were a play or two away from getting the victory once again as a double-digit underdog. So, and it's one of the youngest teams in the league by and large. They joke, if not for J.J. Jansen, the long snapper, who's 40, they could really be mathematically about the youngest team in the NFL. But our punter and our long snapper are old, and so I think it's a young team that's mostly returning as far as the core pieces of the roster go. So the value is that you learn that, and you're coming back next year. If they all just dispersed and went to a bunch of different teams, you're not really building anything. But you'll be heading into Dave Canales' third year, and a team that's on the rise. I think too, when you play like that on the national stage, and you're a free agent or two away from maybe plugging some holes that you might want to, that it's a good recruiting tool in the NFL level to play well, and guys going, hey, that's a team that's growing up that I want to be a part of, and they're playing fun football and going in a positive direction. So I think it's a destination place for, I think, some players that might want to come in and be a part of it too.
So I saw where there was some contract activity on Bryce Young's deal. What was that all about?
It's the standard rookie contracts. They picked up his 5th-year option, so he just finished his 3rd year. And by doing that, now they've got him under control for 2 more years, next year and the year after that. So it's not the contract extension. At some point, they'll have to decide, do they want to take the bigger bite and do a contract, second full-on contract? So this was just the option year of his rookie contract they picked up.
Okay, so I'm going to hit you with this one more time. The free agency thing. is going to come around, and the draft is coming around. But if you could just get, let's say, 2 free agents, not draft picks, but 2 free agents that you thought could come in and really fix 2 problems on either side of the ball, where would you head with that?
Well, they created a whole new problem in the last game. That left tackle Ike Ekwonu suffered a significant injury, so he's going to be out with a meniscus or whatever he tore. No, patella tendon is what he tore. So he's going to miss probably all of the off season into the first part of the regular season. So you now need a
easily.
You need somebody who's probably played a little bit. And I would
that's a bad.
I would say you need a 3-down linebacker that can cover, go sideline to sideline. They drafted Trevin Wallace with that kind of player in mind, and he's been not that player, and he's been injured. He's been just mediocre, not bad, but just mediocre. So they of course, they're known for the days of Dan Morgan and John Beeson and Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis. They need somebody, and it's not going to have to be a future Hall of Famer, but they need an infusion of some talent in that middle 3 levels of the defense. I think defensive secondary is good. You can maybe plug and play even some edge rushers or get one in the drafts because your question is about free agency. But just a guy that knows what he's doing right now that can plug in and be just that 3-down linebacker that can wear the green dot on his helmet maybe for the communications and just be that guy that kind of is the captain of the defense in some ways.
Well, overall, I think early in the season in particular, and I was trying to be positive on the radio and not as critical as some of the stuff that I was hearing, particularly toward Dave Canales. Just the way he handled Bryce Young and, everything that went on. I was holding out hope for Coach Canales. I was holding out hope for Bryce Young. And I think, you've reiterated it a time or two, and maybe we're starting to get some definition that, he's going to be a point guard, high-level game manager, and that's okay. It's okay if they bolster the offense around him, continue to do that, because I think on the real positive side with Bryce Young, I do think that he's got a championship DNA. He doesn't shy away from it, and his physical ability, I just don't know. I think both of us have, just the arm strength and the ability to, really bang a throw that's necessary under pressure. I don't know that he's got that. I don't know that he ever will. But I think Coach Canales really manufactured a lot of things around Bryce Young to help the whole process move forward. And, I just hope that, when they stumble a time or two next year, that the panic button doesn't hit again, because I really do believe that the Panthers, with the GM, the head coach, and what they have in place right now, plus, I don't, again, from a distance, I don't think Mr. Tepper is creating as much chaos. He may be, but it doesn't look like he is. But it just seems to me that there's a chance now to move forward. And, give me your thoughts on that.
I agree. And like you said, you're not going into off season where you're looking for your general manager. I think Dan Morgan's doing a great job. You've got a coach going into a 3rd year, and not only that, you're going to have the same continuity of the offensive coordinator and all that. That Bryce Young will stay in the same system, and maybe they can add to it. So it gives you a chance to kind of just take it to another level instead of always restarting, hitting the reset button at the major things with your quarterback, coach, and GM. And you're right about Dave Tepper, too. I think over the last 2.5, 3 years, he's taken a step back and letting the football people do the football things and staying, they're always going to be, somebody's got to sign the check, so there's always some collaborative approval that has to happen. But I don't think he's leading the discussion as far as, what direction to take those kind of things within things that are now set, as opposed to searching for the new candidates that they don't need right now. So, pick your poison with quarterbacks. I think we're kind of in an era where there's some really good ones in Stafford and Drake May and something like that. But you mentioned Drew Brees. We just came out of the era where it's like Drew Brees and Tom Brady and peak Aaron Rodgers and just 5 or 6 guys that have kind of aged out over that time or are on their last legs like Aaron Rodgers are right now. And there's some good ones. Joe Burrow's good, and there's some other, quality guys, but Mahomes is hurt right now. And so I think you've got, probably at least a guy who's middle of the pack at least. And your choice is either a guy that's kind of smallish, that's accurate, and he's a team player and does a lot of things we've talked about throughout the course of the season as far as accuracy and processing and all that. Or you have a guy like Jameis Winston who, looks the part, or back in the day we had Chris Winkie. You'd have a guy that was 6'5", could throw like a cannon, and you could take deep shots, but he might throw 4 interceptions in a game while throwing for 300 yards possibly, or 400 yards. And so you live with turnovers. So I think Dave's done a good job of, putting Bryce in the best position most times of, working to his strengths and avoiding the stuff that would get him into trouble.
Well, it was an upbeat way to end the season, and hopefully we can start next year and be competitive. It's interesting. The NFC South is interesting again. It's evolving. Just like you just said, Drew Brees is gone, Matt Ryan's gone, Cam Newton's gone, all those guys that I was fighting when I was with Tampa Bay, and the Tampa Bay, they've got their quarterback that they feel good about. It looks like he's going to be there a year or two. And then the guy that out of nowhere, this young man down at New Orleans, really the second half of the season, I got to watch the kid. His name is Suff. Is that what it is?
Tyler Shuck is how it's pronounced, like shucking oysters.
Yeah. And, all of a sudden this guy's really good. And the head coach, offensive coordinator at the Saints, he knows what he's doing. And so I think there's, the needle is probably pointing up with the Saints. Out of nowhere, the shock and surprise, although Coach Steve Logan called this on draft day a year or two ago, whenever it was the Falcons drafted Michael Penix, I stood up and screamed in the living room, and I said, that's a huge mistake. And so that program looks to be blown up. They fired Raheem. It's back to Kirk Cousins. They're having to restructure his contract. And, of course, when they left Kirk Cousins in the last half of the season, guess what? They began to win again. The Falcons did. And I think what they do, they won their last 4 straight or something like that. But again, it all reverberated around the quarterback chaos that was intentionally created, and it just blew my mind. But anyway, I'm just talking about the NFC South. The Panthers are in pretty good shape moving forward in that league. There's not a dominant quarterback in there. There's 2 good ones that I just mentioned, the Tampa Bay and New Orleans. I think that the Falcons, if it is Kirk Cousins next year, he can certainly beat you, but it's not upper level elite type stuff. So I think the Panthers can go fight the fight next year.
Yeah, at this stage of his career, I would put Cousins as Bryce as far as like if you're doing 1 through 32, they'd be both somewhere in the middle-ish as far as their actual abilities. I'm not even talking like fantasy football perceived upside, just how they actually perform would probably be somewhere in the middle with that. And then Tyler Shuck, I think, is an interesting one to keep an eye on because he's bigger, he's athletic, he makes some really difficult throws, and he just is just a rookie, although an older rookie this year, so I think he'll only get better next year. And you know what you're getting with Baker. He's a tough competitor, and he's going to have some times where he throws untimely interceptions and that kind of stuff. So it's, again, very much going to be, I think, a wide-open division. If Atlanta ever did get a quarterback, I know some of their guys are free agents like Kyle Pitts, but the Bijan Robinson and Drake London, some of the guys they have, really the missing pieces, I would swing for the fences for quarterback now while those guys are in their prime. Like I would go, if there's a chance Joe Burrow is unhappy in Cincinnati, I would go get him. You're not going to get Josh Allen or one of these other guys. So if I was them, right, I would try to swing a deal or do something to go all in, put a ton of poker chips in, get your quarterback while you've got Bijan Robinson, because we know these running backs usually have about 4 years where they're just really at top level, and then you get some other version of them. So I wouldn't mess around with that that young roster they got right now.
All right. Well, look, Zoke, here's the deal. You do a radio show in Raleigh, right?
Charlotte.
So here's the deal. I just took a coaching job in the UFL. Okay, I'm going to be an offensive coordinator at the Louisville Kings, a new franchise in the UFL this spring. And so if you start getting a bunch of negativity about the play calling in Louisville, I want you to come to my defense on the air. You with me?
Absolutely.
I need all the help. I need all the help I can get, dude.
I don't even know who your players are, but I'm blaming it on your personnel. It's not you, it's the players.
I'll email you the roster. I'm going to be coaching a quarterback who was on the Indianapolis Colts practice squad, a young man named Jason Bean. He was a starter at the University of Kansas. And I'm really, really excited about working with this young man. But look, I don't want you to let any negative comments about the Louisville Kings and the UFL slip by on your show without defending me.
Well, you got it. I didn't even know this, by the way. Congratulations on the assignment. And I expect to see Louisville gear in my mailbox sometime in the next week.
Coming your way, dude.
Well, good luck
that's called payola. Yeah, that's called payola, so
I'm
we'll all get in trouble, but I can handle it.
I'm not
all right. I really, really appreciate you coming on every week, and I get a lot of comments, seriously, about the interactions that we have on the air, and I appreciate it so much. And hopefully next year we'll do it again, okay?
Always fun, Steve. Always enjoy it. Enjoy your football assignment. We'll catch up down the road.
All right. Thanks a lot for coming in. All right, Jim Zoki, voice of the Panthers, voice of the Pirates, radio show and rod. He does everything. All right. Philip, what do we got? We're going to take a break here. We've got a little short break coming back. Is that true?
That
or
is
short segment coming back?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do this. Let's demand we get some phone calls. 252-561-4263. I know somebody's listening in the car, driving home right now. This is the evening drive, so hit your cell phone. You can hit me with a Twitter question at Steve Logan Show on the X account, and I'll be looking forward to interacting with whoever, whatever, about anything you want to talk about. We'll be right back.
Your family, your home, your business. When it comes to protecting what matters most in your life, you deserve an insurance team you can truly trust and that will go to work for you. At First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with hometown people right here in Eastern North Carolina. Our team, led by Clark Stallings, includes Keaton Smith, Regina Asman, Phil Leva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Susie Heath. We are dedicated to providing our customers with professional insurance advice, competitive products, and excellent service. At First State, we are ready to advise you on your personal and business insurance needs, from life insurance that protects your family, to home and auto coverage that protects your personal assets, to commercial insurance for your business. First State Insurance Advisors has you covered. Call First State Insurance Advisors today at 252-917-8822. We would be honored to become your trusted choice agency. Go Pirates.
Are you unhappy with your smile? Doctors Bowman Paget and Associates can help you with state-of-the-art procedures to get your smile game day ready. Bowman Paget and Associates agree that dressing up like a pirate for game day is one thing, but smiling like one may not be the way you want to go. Schedule your appointment at bowmanpaget.com. That's bowmanpaget.com or call 252-752-1111. Doctors Bowman Paget and Associates.
We are the dentist of ECU. Hey!
Guten Tag, this is meine Auto. Und this is meine key. And I only trust one place with meine key. Meine Key Car Care. They are so transparent with e-inspection, which shows photos of the problem and the fix. Meine Key is my favorite part of America. And my second favorite part? The cowboys and the horses. Remember, I only trust meine Key with meine Key, a one-stop shop for total car care.
At participating locations, meine Key locations are independently owned and operated.
As summer approaches, two things come to mind: baseball and warmer weather. This is Rachel Davis with Advanced Mechanical. We wanted to thank you for the trust you put in us. Before you know it, warmer temperatures will arrive, signaling summer is on the way. Don't wait. Prepare now for rising temperatures by scheduling a tune-up. Give us a call today at 252-355-9191 or visit our website, advancedmechnc.com.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone. Even though Greenville Utilities has a reliability rate of more than 99.99%, sometimes outages happen. Just like in football, you need to have a plan for what to do just in case. Right now, grab your cell phone, open the contacts list, and add GUC's emergency hotline as a contact. Here's the number to use, 1-855-767-2482. That's 855-SOS-2-GUC. Plan on that instead of fumbling around looking for the number when the lights go out. Now we're going to toss it back over to Coach Logan as we do have our first caller of the evening, and that caller is Marshall. Take it away, Coach.
All right. I love it when somebody comes to the head coach's office. Let's see if we can solve any problems. Marshall, you are in the Logan Zone. What you got, boy?
Hey, Coach. Good to talk to you. Loyal listener. I'm a Wolfpack fan, and want to get your impression on what the Wolfpack needs to do to move to that next level to really compete for the ACC championship and maybe potentially get in the playoff system. They seem to be, a middle of the pack to a little better type of team. And I like Coach Doran, but we just seem to be kind of stuck in this rut of not being able to move forward.
That is true, and the numbers bear that out. But Marshall, let me, you asked the question, what do they need to do? Well, in this day and age, if you got enough money, you can go out and buy yourself some football team. And the most important thing that North Carolina State has going for them right now, which is the central building block that must be in place, is the quarterback. Your quarterback at North Carolina State is he's going to get into the NFL, and he's going to hang around the NFL. I don't know that he's going to be a starter in the NFL, but he's going to be in the NFL, which puts you, let's say there's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and that means 2 quarterbacks, first team, second team. That means there's 64 men in the world that are good enough to hang around on an NFL roster at the position of quarterback, and North Carolina State has one right now. So with that in place, and I said this all last year when you guys were playing football, I watched North Carolina State with great interest, and the offensive line was good enough. The receivers, good enough. And I'm talking about good enough to win an ACC championship. The offensive line was good enough. The wide receivers were good enough. The running backs were good enough. The quarterback was plenty good enough. All right, let's go to the other side of the ball. There wasn't a football player on the defensive side of the ball, much to defensive head coach Dave Doran's chagrin, that was ACC championship level football player. I couldn't find one. There may have been one. I couldn't find him. And it was stunning to me because I know that Coach Doran is a defensive guy. That's how he's made his bones. That's what he's all about. And, that's the problem. That's the problem. So who won the ACC this year? Well, it was Duke. Duke, did they have a championship defense at Duke? No, they didn't. But they were middle of the road competitive. And then they coupled that with a $4 million quarterback that they bought that proved to be one of the greatest bargains in ACC history. Darian Mensah was well worth every dollar they spent. And so when you look at North Carolina State, how do we get out of this? Well, there's a shining example for them to examine. Who is it? Who should we copy? Texas Tech. Texas Tech in the Big 12, Marshall, historically has been 6-6 and 7-5. Does that sound familiar to you North Carolina State fans? Identical. And out of nowhere, like I say, now in this new day and age, it's incumbent if somebody in the North Carolina State football building, and if there's a North Carolina State president of the university that decides, you know what? We've had all of this 7-5 stuff that we can take. Dave Doran has proven he's extremely capable. He needs some assistance in talent acquisition. How do you do that? You go buy them. That's the new way. It's the new normal. Okay? So you got to come up with some booster that has got a lot of money and is willing to go in and write some checks. And to start out, here's how you buy the defense, which is exactly what Texas Tech did. They knew exactly what they were doing. How do you buy a defense? You buy the down 4 defensive linemen first. Okay? And there are 4 men out there that North Carolina State could attract to Raleigh. It's a great place to live. The program has a good vibe about it. Any college football player would be interested in a phone call from Dave Dorn with the proper amount of money. Raleigh's a cool place to go to school. North Carolina State has a great football culture. I've always admired North Carolina State because it doesn't matter if North Carolina State's going to line up and play Campbell, which they did last year. There were 45, 48,000, whatever that stadium seats, it was full. And then the next week, Miami comes to town. Guess what? The stadium, it's full. They have a wonderful football. It's the best football culture in the state. It is. And then East Carolina's is next. I'm talking numbers-wise. And then Chapel Hill falls in there somewhere. And then Duke just doesn't have enough people that have ever graduated from that place to create a solid fan base. And of course, when you graduate from Duke, the first thing you do is probably fly off to God knows where to create your tech company and be a billionaire. But anyway, North Carolina State, go buy a defensive front and call me. Let's see how it turns out. It's that quick. It's that simple. But you're going to have to find somebody like they had years ago with the hog farmer. Went in there and dropped a bunch of money on him, really helped the program, but I hear he's kind of dropped out now. You're going to have to go find a new one. Write a check. Buy the defense. It's a simple answer that requires a lot of commitment and a lot of money. We're going to take a break. It's top of the hour. When we get right back, I'd love to have some more phone calls. 252-561-4263. Hit me on Twitter at Steve Logan Show, and we will be right back.
I want to take a minute here to tell you about Bill Clark Homes. The football stadium, the baseball stadium, the Pirate Club, whatever it is, Bill Clark Homes has always been there for ECU. The reason they can do all of this is because Bill Clark Homes continues to build quality homes and neighborhoods in both the Greenville area and in the Wilmington area. And whether it's Greenville or Wilmington, you can choose your school district with several homes under construction and available now in both markets. Eastern North Carolina's premier home builder, Bill Clark Homes, building family traditions.
Bailey's Fine Jewelry, voted best place to buy your diamond. Their knowledgeable diamond experts, unparalleled selection of top quality diamonds, customized financing, and direct diamond relationships make Bailey's Fine Jewelry the engagement ring destination you can trust. When you shop at Bailey's, you're getting the highest quality diamonds without the higher prices. There's no reason to look for your engagement ring anywhere else. Visit Bailey's Fine Jewelry today or learn more online at baileybox.com.
Have you been to Jaggers on Memorial Drive yet? I'm a regular at Jaggers, and let me tell you, if you want fresh, not frozen, you need to come to Jaggers. Burgers, chicken sandwiches, all sorts of salads, and the shoestring fries. Oh, I love those shoestring fries. My favorite is the Berry Fresh Grilled Chicken Salad, one of the best salads I've ever had. My grandkids love the burgers and fries and the chicken tenders with the awesome honey mustard and ranch. Everything is fresh at Jaggers. They don't cut any corners. Jaggers on Memorial Drive in Greenville. Also now open in Fayetteville.
Hello, Eastern North Carolina. I'm Matt Murchison here at Greenville Nissan, and Happy New Year. And we've got some amazing incentives to start the new year. I'm along with Glenn Hansen. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Matt?
Hey, we had an awesome 2025, but we got a great 26 lining up right now.
Yes, we do, Matt. Right now, we have some great lineup for the 2026, and you talk about great discounts, it's still out there. Special APR is still out there, 0% available on most of our model here at Greenville Nissan. And we have some Armada. Right now, you can save up to $10,000 off a brand new Armada at Greenville Nissan.
That's right. We got a great selection of the Armada. It was totally redesigned last year. A fun vehicle to drive. Glenn, we've got a pretty sleek redesign in our lineup too, don't we?
Yes, it is. That's right. It's the brand new 2026 Nissan Sentra. And folks, you want to talk about top of the class? With all the technology, this car has got it from the entry-level mat all the way to the top of the line. Folks, come check this car out. We have it here at Greenville Nissan. Be the first to see the 2026 Sentra.
Come check us out at greenvillenissan.com and Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
A new year brings fresh energy and the chance to make a meaningful difference in our community. Pitt County Schools invites you to explore a career with an award-winning system dedicated to excellence in education and leadership development, because we're hiring now. If you're seeking a fulfilling workplace with competitive compensation, opportunities for professional advancement, and a supportive environment for personal development, we'd love to have you on our team. Together, we can shape the future of Eastern North Carolina's next generation. Ready to get started? Visit our website at pittschools.org. That's pittschools.org and complete your application today. Join us in nurturing young minds and building tomorrow's leaders across 39 schools, united as one community. Because quality education takes all of us working together. Pitt County Schools. Our commitment is to engage, empower, and elevate every student every day.
This is WRHD, Farmville, Greenville. Powered by the Ritchie Law Firm Injury Lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com. That's ritchielaw.com.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone here, hour number 2. About to toss it over to Coach Logan. Before that, we want to tell you about Bill Clark Homes. Bill Clark Homes has always been there for ECU, and they can continue to support year after year because Bill Clark Homes continues to build quality homes and neighborhoods in both the Greenville area and the Wilmington area. And whether it's Greenville or Wilmington, you can choose your school district with several homes under construction and available now in both markets. Eastern North Carolina's premier home builder, Bill Clark Homes, building family traditions. And Coach Logan, before I toss it back to you, I do want to congratulate you. I was unaware, same as Jim Zoki, about the news of you landing the new OC job. So congratulations on that, Coach.
Well, life is funny. Just to tell everybody kind of what happened. The United Football League is spring professional football, and these are young men that are. It's a chance to put, you play 10 football games in this league. The first football game will kick off March 27, and the final game is June 1. There are 2 rounds of playoffs. They have a semifinal June 7, and then they have a championship game in June 15. So anyway, the whole thing is, I think this year, I kept track of it. This year in the National Football League, I think there were 15 young men that played UFL football last spring that put together enough good tape, got invited to camp, and, guess what? They made the NFL, and they were, they got NFL paychecks, they're on the active roster, and so that's what this is all about. And I've done this kind of work before. I did it in NFL Europe, but that was run by the NFL. These guys were already NFL contracted players. They were making money. But I did that for 3 years. And then I did 1 year with the Alliance of American Football, which is the forerunner to this current spring league. I was the offensive coordinator in Birmingham. And I've said this a million times to people privately. They ask me about college coaching, pro coaching. I like pro football. I like coaching pro football players. It's the highest level. Their talent is outstanding. But as much as anything, they're motivated. And all you got to do is roll the ball out there. They will do anything for you. And they'll do anything for you, certainly when they figure out that you know what you're doing as a coach and you can help them perfect their craft. And I will say to anybody right dead in the face, I can do that. I can help a young man. And so I was contacted by a guy that I used to coach. He is currently the quarterback coach of the Los Angeles Rams, Dave Ragone, who I coached in NFL Europe. And he called me and asked me if I was still interested in coaching. And I said I could with the right people. And his very closest friend, Chris Redmond, the head, will be our head coach. And Chris was the backup quarterback, coincidentally, to Matt Ryan with the Falcons for 6-8 years. And Chris was a third-round draft pick out of the University of Louisville. And Chris is the head coach. Chris called me. We had a conversation, and I think it's going to be a really good fit for me and for him. And I'm going to do everything in the world I can to make Chris Redmond successful. And I'm just really looking forward to it. So I'll go to camp February the 15th. And our first football game is March 27. We'll play 10 games. And I'll be right back down here at the beach in June. And it's just perfect. You know, I love coaching those kinds of guys because, as I said, they're hungry, they're motivated, they'll do anything. And it's a very, very competitive league because all 8 teams in the league have exactly the same football player. And so it's going to be fun, and it's going to be very interesting. So there's just a little, preview that, but like I say, one phone call change your whole life. But it was really interesting to come kind of full circle from young men that I have coached. And it's humbling to get that kind of a call because it kind of proves that, you know what, I did do some good things with those young men. And for them to have that kind of a feeling to call and say, hey, here's a guy that I had an experience with that was really, really positive, and recommend him to a friend of his who is, Chris Redmond is 30 years younger than me, for crying out loud. And, it's very, very humbling. You don't get a lot of phone calls at 72 years of age, getting ready to be 73. But like I told Chris Redmond, I said, I can probably still outrun you right now. I coached against Chris Redmond. He came to East Carolina one day with the University of Louisville football team in 1998 when we were in a bit of a rebuild and beat us 62-48. As you can tell, I got over it. All right, that's enough of that. We have Steve holding on the line. So, Steve, you're in the Logan Zone. What you got, man?
I have a couple of questions, if I may. You talked a lot about what percentage of the revenue you would pay to the quarterback and the left tackle and the edge rusher and all that. What do you pay the special teams, the place kicker, the punter, and the long snapper?
At the collegiate level, I would be very frugal with that, and here's what I would do at the collegiate level. For instance, as you may have heard me speaking a minute ago, I have taken a job, again, I'm going to be an offensive coordinator in Spring Pro Football League, the United Football League. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm very humbled by it and excited for it. But here's the thing. When I was with the Birmingham franchise in this same league 4 or 5 years ago, we had a kicker named Nick Novak, who was an ex-pro kicker. Nick Novak runs a kicking camp full-time out in San Diego. And so the point I'm making is those kinds of people, Nick Novak, if I was the head coach at North Carolina State, wherever, I would get on the phone to Nick Novak because he's working with high school football players right now, and I would say, hey, Nick, I need a punter, I need a kicker. And I would be willing to take a freshman on the recommendation and film from a guy like Nick Novak, and Nick Novak is probably one of 10 or 15 guys like that you could call around the country. And my punter and my kicker at the collegiate level, if I was starting a college football program next year, would be straight out of high school. They would be given a revenue share and very little NIL money, okay, out of my budget. And I would tell them, come on, your scholarship's taken care of, you're going to get a little bit of money, and at the end of the year, you go out there and hit 75% of your field goals and kick the ball off deep enough like you showed on film that you could. Then the whole point is you got to prove to me you can operate under collegiate pressure. When you prove that, at the end of the year, we'll have another discussion about the money, okay? But I would not go up front on a kicker with money. I would make them earn it, and there's enough of them out there that I think that strategy would work for almost every college head football coach. Because one of these days they're going to put a cap on this money. Now, let me back up. If you're at the University of Texas and you've got somebody that'll write a check for whatever, whenever, however, then, you might go shopping for a kicker. And let's say that Kansas State had a kicker that hit 22 out of 25 field goals last year, and 4 or 5 of them from outside, 50 yards or in the 50-yard category. Shoot, why not call him up and offer him $2 million? Because those guys right now are operating with an unlimited budget, which gets back to the fact that, as we're all discovering, there are no rules right now. There are no rules. There's no salary cap. So, that's the answer to your first question. That's how if I was at East Carolina, where I had limited money, or even a North Carolina State that right now is operating with some limits, that's how I would handle the punter and the kicker. But let me give you a quick war story, Steve, about the punter and kicker. 1999, I believe, the year 2000, Steve Logan had the consensus All-American punter at East Carolina by the name of Andrew Bays. I had a kicker by the name of Kevin Miller, who hit like 90% of his field goals. All right? I took Kevin Miller with me to NFL Europe. He was so good. And he kicked successfully in NFL Europe. The only thing that kept Kevin out of the NFL was leg strength. His kickoffs couldn't get much past the 5-yard line. In the NFL, that's not acceptable. But his accuracy as a kicker. But let me back up a minute. Kevin Miller and Andrew Bays, my punter and my kicker that I had together for 2 to 3 years, they were football players. They were tough as hell, mentally, physically, emotionally, and intellectually. And that's a rare bird. And when you're a punter and when you're a kicker, just like those NFL kickers you see on Sunday that come out there every single Sunday, it comes down to what? A 38-yard field goal with no time on the clock. If you can't go out there, and all of them have fear, but those men have found a way to control their fear. They don't walk out there fearless. There's no such thing as that. Nobody's fearless. If you're fearless, you're stupid. You're ignorant. You don't have any intellect if you're fearless, okay? Everybody has fear. Tom Brady has fear, but those men have ways of controlling the fear under extreme pressure. I had those 2 guys at East Carolina. I've been around them in the NFL, okay? And so that's the dicey part. I gave a scholarship to a freshman kicker at East Carolina. I won't give you his name, but and he could kick it in practice, brother. But it came game day, and he was missing extra points, literally missed an extra point. Several. And at the end of the year, I had to let him go. It wasn't a talent issue. It was the inability to handle the pressure, which is fear. So, there's a long war story and a long dissertation about punters and kickers that I am intimate with. And so, anyway, there's that question. Did you have another question, Steve?
Well, there's an old quote from some military general that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the mastery of it.
There you go.
Anyway, the other question is probably a little more vague, but you see a team like on the first possession go down the field and score a touchdown right away, and then they end up getting beaten, 35-10. And you hear the announcers talking about, well, the coaches made adjustments. The only example I can think of goes back to the first series of the first game of the year, Carolina versus TCU, where they went down the field and scored, and then don't know if they scored again the rest of the game. But anyway, what kinds of adjustments do they do? What kinds of things can you do as the game is going on that you can suddenly shut down a team that did good things against you? I guess in that case, it was just the talent won out, but
it
might be hard to answer that question.
No, that question is answerable, and that game that you just pointed out is a great example, relative to the question you're referring. Let me tell you about some real war stories that I've experienced. And, this is going to be my 47th year of coaching coming up, okay? This will be my 47th journey. So here's what's happened to Steve Logan before. This happened to me when I was the offensive coordinator in the Birmingham in the spring league football, pro football, 5 years ago. I had a quarterback that was a rookie, and we had won our first game and put up something like 30 points. It was a great outing, and I felt good, and my little quarterback felt good. And although I knew my quarterback had some limitations, all right? So we started the next football game, and we went out there and scored, just like you're talking about. We went down the field, and I'm up in the press box. I'm thinking, okay, life's good. Here we go, and we're going to be all right. We came out in the second possession, and either by accident or on purpose, the defensive coordinator from the team we were playing, he was a pro ex-NFL defensive coordinator. You know what happened? You know what he did? He began to drop 8. He only rushed 3 and put what's called a Tampa 2 coverage in front of my little rookie quarterback. So every time my quarterback dropped back, starting with about 5 minutes left in the first quarter, we had scored on our first drive. We were ahead 7-0. I came out in the second series, and I looked up, and I said, it's first down. It was first down. And I said, this guy's playing cover 2 on first down. Here we go. And I called something, and my quarterback looked up, and he had never had a lot of experience with this coverage. He came out of a little school called Texas A&M Commerce, which is low-level Division II football. This was his first professional football game. And so this is like AAA football. It's like the Durham Bulls in baseball, okay? It's real deal. These guys are talented. The coaches are talented. So anyway, my quarterback, it didn't matter what I called, he couldn't get through his progressions suddenly. He couldn't solve Tampa 2 coverage. He couldn't solve it, which there's a couple of issues there. He hadn't had enough exposure to it. Steve Logan, I'd only had this kid 3.5 weeks in fall in a camp, and suddenly we were playing football games. That's what this kind of football does. You're in the heat quick. And so I found out that day this young man had no more idea about Tampa 2 than I could fly in a submarine. And so this game went on. It was a slugfest of a football game, and all I saw the rest of the game was Tampa 2. So I'm in the press box, and we were leaving open receiver after open receiver after open receiver on the field. And my quarterback wasn't getting to him. It was the most frustrating thing in the world for him, me, and the head coach. And so we're on our final drive, and we were down 13-10. I'll never forget it. It was just a slugfest of a football game. It was raining. It was miserable there in Birmingham. And we had a critical 3rd down and 7 or 8 on about the plus 40-yard line. And I called the play in. You can call the plays directly to the quarterback. And I called the play, and I told the quarterback, throw the slant route to your right. Now, you don't ever do that I don't ever do it with any quarterback that's the only time in my life I've ever done that. But I was so frustrated, I did that. And my quarterback dropped back, hit his 5th step. He slammed a slant route in there that was just inside the Sam linebacker. And it hit for about 16, 18 yards, gave us a first down, and then we ended up scoring and winning the football game 17-13 with very little time left on the clock. Now, the rest of the story is this. So we came in at the end of that football game, and the next day we're going through the film, and my quarterback said to me, he goes, why don't you tell me where to throw it every time? And I said, young man, about the time I tell you where to throw the football and it's intercepted, then what? Now what does the discussion sound like? It sounds like this. You tell the head coach, well, Steve told me to throw it there. Not my fault. So, you can't go down that road. You can't tell the quarterback where to throw the football. He's got to solve these problems on his own. He's got to get through the progressions on his own. But there's an example of, what the heck, the Birmingham Iron, the first game, we were up and down the football field, and to start the second game, we were up and down the football field, and suddenly it was just bam, nothing. And I don't know, well, I do know what happened. The defense coordinator, first of all, he was an experienced NFL defense coordinator, old guy. He'd been through the wars. He knew what he was doing. But he just was on a Rolodex over there, and he just said, I'm just going to throw this out there and see if they can solve this. And we couldn't. And so stuff like that can happen during a football game, and it happens both ways. You look up and you see, your defense just getting shredded. Well, that's the flip side of what I was talking about. You got a defensive coordinator that he's either looking at something that he hadn't prepared for, or he's just totally incapable of handling that kind of a scheme. It could be a gap scheme in the run. It could be a vertical field presentation in the passing game. It could be a shallow cross type attack that they weren't prepared for with their underneath coverage, whatever. But it goes on both sides of the football and I've been there, like I just described. It's the worst thing in the world to happen to you as a coordinator when the other guy flips a switch and you don't have a contingency plan. I didn't have a contingency plan because my quarterback didn't have enough experience to get me out of it. And so, that's a little bit more rare in the National Football League, to be honest with you. In the National Football League, you've got so much time with your players all spring, all camp. You've got contingencies for everything. And, in the NFL, for instance, if you throw a Tampa 2 coverage out there, first of all, we weren't good enough running the football. You should be running the football against that coverage on first down, particularly, which is it was unheard of what the guy did to me. Okay? We weren't good enough running the football. And so, there's a lot of, again, one more time, Pilkington, I'm telling you, next year we're going to have to get a chalkboard to where I can explain some of this technically to some of the guys that call in. But anyway, this is all your fault for me not being able to give the technical answer, Pilk. But anyway, Steve, there's...
Dan is in charge of all equipment. I'm taking...
Perfect. We'll blame Dan. All right. So anyway, Steve, there's a kind of a long-winded answer. Love both questions, man. I love both questions. And looking for some more calls. And 252-561-4263. And hit me on the X machine at Steve Logan Show. We will be right back. We'll take a break.
Listen up, football fans. You won't want to miss this.
Right now, new Bet365 customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. So you could turn that $200 into something bigger when you bet on moneyline, spread, totals, player props.
$200 in bonus bets when new customers bet $5. I know where I'm going to bet from now on. Ever ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov. Must be physically located in North Carolina. T&Cs apply. In-app only.
Attention duck hunters. Greenville Marine Outdoor Shop just outside of Greenville is the premier shop for all your duck hunting supplies and is a Benelli, Stoger, and Franchi shotgun dealer. Greenville Marine Outdoor Shop carries the most sought-after duck loads such as Migra, Kent Fast Steel 2.0, Heavy Steel and Heavy Metal, Federal Black Cloud, Remington Nitro Steel and Hypersonic, Winchester Blindside and Royal Blue Steel, and chokes by Pattern Master and Carlson. They also carry green headgear decoys by Avery, Mojo Motorized Decoys, decoy weights and cord, ABC duck calls, Avery blinds, and reel grass. Greenville Marine has a great selection on banded waders, clothing, and much more. Everything you need for a successful duck hunt, all under one roof. So why go anywhere else? Head to Greenville Marine Outdoor Shop just outside of Greenville on Marine Drive beside Greenville Marine. Greenville Marine Outdoor Shop is open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30, and Saturday, 8:30 to 12:30. Everything you need for duck hunting at Greenville Marine Outdoor Shop.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
What makes 1 hour heating and air different?
Always on time or you don't pay in time.
Smart homeowners know that proper maintenance of their home's heater system can save a bundle in the long run. Trust our comfort specialists at 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning of Greenville to keep your heater running right. Whether you've got a furnace or any other type of heating system, a proactive tune-up prevents problems before you're in the cold. In the Pitt County area, call the heating and air conditioning company that you can trust. 1 Hour Heating and Air of Greenville, 252-515-7778. That's 252-515-7778. Or online at onehourheatingandair.com. You can depend on our highly skilled, clean, and friendly technicians, and our straightforward pricing guide, and our on-time guarantee.
Always on time or you don't pay in time.
1 Hour Heating and Air of Greenville.
Medlin Chevrolet is your trusted Ayden dealership. Medlin Chevrolet has made their home in Ayden, serving Pitt, Lenore, and surrounding areas for 7 years. We're growing. Now under construction is our brand new service facility to serve you even better. Try our service department for your work trucks, fleet, and personal vehicles, and you'll be with us for life. Our staff are courteous, service-minded professionals that answer the phones themselves and walk you through your purchase or service journey. Find the perfect vehicle for your lifestyle today at Medlin Chevrolet, Monday through Saturday, Highway 11, Ayden.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Welcome back into the Logan Zone here. About half an hour left in the show. At Bojangles football season is tailgate season. And again, this year, remember, Bojangles is a proud partner of ECU Athletics to celebrate Pirate football no matter where you are on game day. Pick up a Bojangles tailgate box, all the chicken fixins, buttermilk biscuit, and fresh brewed tea hungry fans want. And remember this, Pirate Nation, when you want to step up your game day festivities, it's Bo time. We have a pair of callers on the line right now. The first caller is Dave, so we're going to toss it back over to Coach Logan and to Dave.
All right, here we go, back in the Logan Zone. And Philip, be sure and tell the second caller, okay, that it's next man up in the Logan Zone, okay? You can't panic and hang up and quit the team like some guys do. So anyway, we are in the Logan Zone. What's that?
No, I was just laughing. We'll let Vernie know that not hang up.
Okay, you tell him hang on. If he quits and runs away, I'll find him and he'll have to run extra after practice. All right. So, all right, we're in the Logan Zone. We got Dave. Dave, what you got going, man?
Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, man. First of all, I want to congratulate you on your new position. I started paying attention to UFL when Holton was there, and now you give me a reason to watch that. So that's awesome.
All right. Well, don't put bad stuff on the internet whenever we don't score. You with me?
Oh no, I won't do that. But I want to make a couple observations and comments, and then I'll hang up and listen. And
okay.
Okay. All right. You remember the flux capacitor, right?
I do.
From the Back to the Future, the flux capacitor.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So I want you to get in the flux capacitor, and if you were advising your 22-year-old son who's getting into coaching, I want you to put yourself back in that position. And I'm thinking about like Blake and all the coaches at East Carolina. Normally, they be celebrating a bowl game, have a little downtime with their family. Signing day would be in February, and they have a little downtime, and now it's nothing but chaos. So I guess my question to you is, number one, if you need a 22-year-old hungry coach to go to Louisville with you, just, you can get my contact from Hank. He'll give it to you. But would you advise, if it was your son, to get in the chaos of college football or do the UFL or high school or, I'm just interested in your opinion on that, because it seems to me these college coaches, you got to have a little family time too. And these guys should have downtime right now. Now dealing with the portal, they're dealing with all this NIL nonsense, and I'll just be curious to hear your opinion on that. But if you need somebody to go up there to Louisville with you, you can get my number from Hank, and you might have a new up and coming coach willing to go help you.
All right, Dave. Well, I appreciate the call, and that's really a good question. And I have seen the college. Well, I've seen football, the profession of football, being a professional football coach, meaning you're getting paid to coach football at the collegiate or the professional level. I've seen it absolutely wreck and destroy families. I've seen that, and so I had to run that balancing act. And let me tell you this: one of the greatest gifts that I ever received in my lifetime was the opportunity to be the head football coach anywhere. It happened to be at East Carolina. When I was named the head coach, I think I was 38 years old, and I had a first and second grader, two boys. My two boys were right there in Greenville. And I have never been one to stay at the office till midnight. I just refused to do that. And I used to tell people, I'll guarantee you that the football team that I bring onto the field on Saturday or Sunday is going to be prepared. But I work really efficiently personally. And I demanded that my staff do the same thing when I was at East Carolina. And just to expand on that, it just so happened that my two boys' elementary school was right across the street from the football office. So every day, those two boys came over and took all the candy out of my drawers, and they brought a crew with them too. There was a whole crew of boys that came over that were part of my coaching staff, and it was just such a family-centric culture. It's culture, 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 and the culture comes from the man at the top. And I was hell-bent. I was going to have a family culture, and my boys were raised on the practice field at East Carolina. If I stopped walking, usually both of them bumped right into the back of me every practice. And on game day, they were on the sideline. And on a away trip, they were on the jet. And so this was the gift. And, I've had people ask me about, I had 3 concrete opportunities to leave East Carolina. 3 concrete, done deal. Walk out the door, take the job, I'm gone. Those 3 opportunities that were presented to me did not have the lifestyle available that I could duplicate, that I was enjoying in Greenville. Now, the downside to that was, the money was, there was a huge money difference, but I made a decision, the family was more important. The question it was, you asked me, if I had one of my sons was interested in doing the coaching thing, particularly in this chaos that we're in right now, the only thing I would tell you, if you're passionate about anything, that, and you get into that profession, it kind of makes it where you're not working a day in your life, but there is a cautionary tale. You're going to have to find some downtime, and let me give you this war story. When I was hired as the quarterback coach at the San Francisco 49ers, I came in there, and they hired, our wide receiver coach came to us from LSU. Now, this was in 2015, I guess. This was before NIL, but it was still crazy. The recruiting was crazy. And the man's name was Adam Henry. I remember working with Adam. He was our wide receiver coach, and Adam came to the 49ers from LSU. And Adam was a very successful recruiter, which in the college game, that's the ticket, man. You want to get a pay raise? Go sign a couple of 5-star players, okay? And Adam was known for this at LSU. He was working under Les Miles, I believe, at the time. But I asked Adam, I said, Adam, and I knew, and I asked Adam, I said, Adam, you took a pay cut to come to the 49ers. I know you did. What was that all about? He said, Steve, and he told me flat out, he said, I was making $600,000 a year as a wide receiver coach, and this is in 2015. He was making $600,000 a year as a wide receiver coach at LSU, And he came to the 49ers for a little over half of that. And I asked him about it, and he said, Steve, things at the collegiate level have gotten to where, he said, they gave him 2 weeks vacation at LSU, but guess what? He would be at the beach, and Les Miles would call and say, hey, Billy Bob, the recruit is coming in. It happened to be on his vacation, Adam Henry's vacation. And Adam Henry had to leave his family, fly back to LSU, and walk Billy Bob around campus with the mom and dad all day long, and then fly back and try to get in a little bit more vacation. He said he couldn't take it anymore. He said you go to sleep, at midnight your phone is pinging from recruits, and if you don't answer them, the Ole Miss recruiting coordinator will. And if you don't answer it, the Alabama recruiting coordinator will. And he said it just was nonstop. And he said he'd turn his phone on in the morning. He said eventually you have to turn your phone off, midnight. He said you turn your phone back on in the morning, you wake up and you've got 25 emails and 14 text messages from all these recruits. And again, talent acquisition, that's it. That's it. I think I can coach quarterbacks pretty well. If I give you a really good quarterback and you give me a really bad quarterback, you're going to beat my brains out every time. You can't ride jackasses and win the Kentucky Derby. I've said that a million times. You got to have talent. Good players need good coaches. Good coaches absolutely have to have good players. I'm being Captain Obvious here. But speaking to your question, it's a tough call. And you can't tell a young man not to chase his dreams, but you're going to have to educate a young man. When you get married, you have a couple of babies, and you're coming home at 1 a.m. every night. The stress on that marriage is going to be out the roof. So I would say this. We talked about culture a minute ago. Try. There's a few unicorns. I was a unicorn in the coaching profession, an absolute unicorn. And any of the men that worked with me will tell you I was an absolute unicorn. We were out of the office at 7 o'clock every night for 12, 13 straight years and won. So you can do it. And if you want to stay to the office till midnight just to prove you're out working me, well, have at it, buddy. I'll see you on Saturday or Sunday. We'll kick off. I'll guarantee you there'll be a hell of a football game breakout, and I'm liable to just kick your fanny. But I'm not staying up there till midnight. And I'm not going to ruin the lives of my coaches. I'm not going to ruin my life. And I want you to have a solid family, and I want you to raise your children. Children that have got to have a father. I'm getting real socio-political here. I believe in fathers, big time, and culture. All right, enough of that. Pilkington?
Yes, sir.
What do we got? We got a break coming up, and then one more series after this, or what?
Yeah, this will be our final drive after this break.
Okay, we'll be in a 4-minute drill. Okay, we got to know exactly how to handle the last segment of the show, and don't turn the ball over and burn the clock out, right?
Yeah, or don't score too soon and give Matthew Stafford too much time.
I promise you I won't score too soon in this next segment. All right, we're going to take a break. Y'all give me a call, 252-561-4263. Hit me with a tweet. By the way, real quick before we take off, I got a tweet, and it's really, really something here, okay? So J.R. Getz tweeted me. And everybody knows I do a lot of fishing down here at the coast. He said, Coach, what's number one? A speckled trout catch and eat, or a redfish catch and eat? That's not even close, JR. It's the redfish. Fish for the redfish, catch the redfish, eat the redfish. Undefeated. All right, we're going to take a break.
Turkey, ham, bacon. These and other meats are great around the holidays and every other day, but they all leave behind grease when you cook them, and grease is a real pain in the drain. When you pour grease down a drain, it cools and can clog sewer lines. That can lead to sewer spills, which are messy, bad for the environment, and can also be expensive. Never pour grease down the drain. Instead, collect it in a container like a used soup can or jar. Let it cool and throw it away in the trash. Together, we can protect our sewer system and the environment. For more information, go to guc.com.
It's bow time. Hurry into Bojangles for 2 scratch-made sizzling sausage biscuits for just $4. 1 bite and you'll want breakfast for dinner. Good thing we serve breakfast all day, every day. But this isn't just breakfast. It's 2 for $4. So you can get 2 savory sausages on fluffy buttermilk biscuits. Biscuits made the right way, by hand. Oh yeah, did we mention they're never frozen? Well, you're probably hungry now, so hurry over to Bojangles, because this 2 for $4 deal won't last forever. It's bow time.
Guten Tag, this is meine Auto. Und this is meine key. And I only trust one place with meine key. Meine key car care. They are so transparent with e-inspection, which shows photos of the problem and the fix. Meine key is my favorite part of America. And my second favorite part? The cowboys and the horses. Remember, I only trust Meineke with Meineke, a one-stop shop for total car care.
At participating locations, Meineke locations are independently owned and operated.
Turn your car into cash with an instant Kelley Blue Book offer from Barber Hendrick Honda in Greenville. Go online to barberhendrickhonda.com to value your trade, explore inventory, and apply for financing, all from the comfort of home. At Barber Hendrick Honda, we have great deals on new inventory and an extensive used inventory that includes all makes and models. Schedule service for your vehicle online and take advantage of our monthly specials. Barber Hendrick Honda, a proud member of the Eastern North Carolina community at the point of Greenville Boulevard and Memorial Drive.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Your roof has seen its better days. During a really hard rain, you get a leak. Call a roofing contractor, and before they even look at it, they say you need a new roof. Maybe you do, or maybe it can be repaired and last for a few more years. Whichever the case, Langley Contracting will give you an honest assessment, whether it's commercial or residential. Langley will get the job done with their own employees, not a collection of subcontractors. So you know they have much better control over the quality of your roof. That's why you get a 25-year warranty. So whether it's roofing or gutter installation, call the professionals at Langley Contracting. Easy number to remember, 252-214-ROOF. That's 214-ROOF. Langley Contracting, 214-ROOF. That's Langley Contracting and Roofing, 252-214-ROOF.
Coach Logan's in the zone. And now, so are you. Back into the Logan Zone. Brought to you by Bill Clark Homes, Greenville Utilities, and Bojangles. On 94.3 The Game and Talk 96.3.
Alrighty, final drive here of the Logan Zone. Coach, I was originally going to ask you what's going to happen in the semifinals of the Australian Open when Jannik Sinner and Novak Djokovic go to battle, since the Australian Open draw was last night. However, we've got Vernie on the line, and I think Vernie probably has a football-related question. This is a football-related show, so I'm going to punt to Vernie, and that's how we'll kick off the final drive of the opening of the Logan.
All right, and by the way, Pilt, okay, we got to give Vernie the question of the day no matter what he asks, because he hung on, okay? This is like I used to tell the walk-on football players. If you stay long enough, you'll play. So Vernie gets the Bojangle prize of the day. Okay, Vern, you good with that?
I'm good with that, Coach. How you doing?
I'm doing good. What's your question, man?
Well, it's not so much a question, but and you probably don't remember me, but I'm a proud ECU graduate, and you and I had just random run-ins together and talk. First time was I was in Greenville, and you had just accepted the head coaching job when Bill Lewis left, and you were so thankful that you didn't have to go to Atlanta, Georgia, and deal with that traffic. But what I wanted to, the saying of it takes a village, and that's especially true in college football. And there's a lot of behind-the-scenes people that people don't even notice. But I was friends with Joyce Stroud, and she was always so kind to me and my family. When we would be in Greenville, we'd go see her, and my oldest son, Brooks, he would go in your office, and you would pick him up and set him on your lap, and Joyce was just a wonderful person. And then the other person I want to recognize is Jeff Charles, the voice of the Pirates. He was a part of the football team, in my opinion, and I know Joyce was too, and I know that she meant a lot to players at ECU, your Tom Scotts, your Jeff Blakes, your Robert Jones, and I just kind of wanted to get your insight on how important the folks like Joyce and Jeff Charles were to you.
Well, that's a real profound question, particularly concerning Joyce. And Joyce Stroud passed away. She got cancer, and it was a brutal ending. And her husband, Butch Stroud, who's a friend of mine, Butch and Joyce was the secretary at the East Carolina when I came there. And she'd been there under Art Baker, Bill Lewis, and then, of course, I became the head coach. And I was talking about family, and I was talking about culture earlier to one of the other calls, and I've laughed about this 1,000 times. My wife, when I was the head coach, she was teaching full-time in Farmville and at one of the junior highs there in Greenville, during that time, 15-year period. And my two boys would come over after practice and ransack the whole football building and then go out to practice. But, Joyce Stroud helped raise my two children. It was family, it was culture. And she was a wonderful woman. And quite honestly, she was, when it came to the football part of it, I ran things. Obviously, I was still, calling plays, coaching quarterbacks, head coach, coordinating the offense. And, I had two defense coordinators, basically two during that time, that handled the other half of the football for me. But the point I'm making is that Joyce Stroud ran the football program for me. She was, quite honestly, my director of football operations before they had such a title. She was just simply the secretary. And I'll give you a little bit of inside baseball here that a few people in Greenville know that toward the end of my run at East Carolina, I went to the administration and I said, I want this woman financially taken care of. I want her to have a real deal salary. And there was a lot of pushback on that, and that was one of the huge beginnings of the end to my run at East Carolina, was that right there. Because one of my family members was not being respected and not being taken care of the way she should have been. And I encouraged Joyce later to get out of that position and go into real estate. And I told her, I said, with your personality, your drive, and your intellect, you will make lots and lots of money. And she did. But it was sad because she loved football. She loved the culture. She loved the players. You're right. The players would have all kinds of problems. And they could come into the office, and there's no telling some of the things that Joyce did that I never knew. Never knew. Then she took care of it. And, she was all the time having to take care of my children and get them to this and get them to that, and all kinds of funny and crazy stories that I could give you over the air. Don't need to, but you're right. It does take, when things are set up properly, you got to have a good trainer. Mike Hanley, the trainer that I had at East Carolina, was loyal, tough. In fact, I've got a young man that has just become a head coach in the American Athletic Conference. I was on the phone with him today. And we were talking about this kind of stuff, and I said to this man, I said, You got to make sure your trainer is right. A trainer can get you fired quicker than anybody in your program by not being tough enough on the kids and making them get out there and play when they're hurt, not injured. And I had a trainer like that one time at the junior college level, and I got him out of there. I got him fired so fast because the players figure out real quick, well, I'm hurt on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I can kind of get well a little bit on Thursday, Friday, and hey, I'm good to go on Saturday. Well, hell, you can't play football like that. That's one of the problems in Chapel Hill, by the way. That has been the culture. I know that from accurate inside the building sources. Okay? But the trainer I had at East Carolina, he was tough as hell. And you got to be able to stick your neck out. There's a lot of liability involved. But I didn't have to worry about that aspect. I had some young men down in the equipment room that got the equipment taken care of. And I didn't have to do a lot of worrying about that. And, on and on you go. Finally, through me throwing a fit year after year after year, I hired a young man from North Carolina State to come grow grass on the football field. We practiced in a mud bowl for years. It was embarrassing. It was denigrating. It wasn't the right thing to do for a program trying to behave like a classy program should. We didn't have any grass. And we hired this young man, I think he just retired, Joey. I remember his name. Joey came in. Guess what? I didn't have to worry about the grass. I was worrying about the grass. That doesn't help you win a football game on Saturday when it's 3rd down and 6. But that was the dilemma. So, when you talk about it takes a village, it does take a village. For any corporation, it doesn't matter if you've got a plumbing company or an electrical company, you've got to have a good secretary, you've got to have good help around you, you've got to have some people that are really good at something and maybe they're not quite as good at something else, but you blend all these talents together and build a winning team. But it starts at the top. That culture comes right from the very top. And I can go on and on about the support personnel that we had. And, Jeff Charles was great. He was invested. He was interested. He was passionate about what he did. And, it was a lot, those play-by-play guys, I'm going to tell you about play-by-play guys. It's hard. It's hard up there. You can imagine being a play-by-play guy through some of the years that East Carolina's gone through. I won't mention the head coach's name, but you can just imagine the name I'm thinking of. I mean, you win 2 games in 2 years. And that happened a couple of times. I mean, it's hard to go call a football game and keep the fans interested over the radio when that kind of crap's going on. But, Jeff Charles was stuck. He stuck through all of that and did a great job. But and there's a million other people you could talk about behind the scenes. There are people that are writing checks that, their name wasn't on the building, so to speak. And there were people, I had a private pilot. We didn't have an airplane at East Carolina. Mac Brown had one. The NC State coach had one. Duke had one. Wake Forest had one. South Carolina had one. Virginia Tech had one. We did not have one. And I'm trying to go beat those guys every weekend. I had a man that just volunteered his time and his airplane, Harry Sloan. And he was part of the family, part of the culture. And if I needed to go somewhere, we met out at the airport and off we went. And we actually crash landed together one day and got out, walked away, and got right back in the damn airplane, flew some more. That's the pirate way, wasn't it? But there were so many people like that helped us win football games on Saturday. That's what it takes. That's what it took. And that's what it takes anywhere, really. Chapel Hill, LSU, East Carolina. There's a lot of people involved, and a lot of people maybe don't get their names out there. But, that's, Vern, that's the thing you're speaking to. It takes a lot of people, and there were a lot of very, very special people. I had a young man come in and lead a Bible study that grew into a fantastic ministry at East Carolina that is still in existence. And I've told people a million times, the biggest victories I had at East Carolina were private in my office with the door shut. And we had some humdingers out there on Saturday in front of national television, 100,000 people. I got that. But again, you kind of really got me going thinking back about all the peripheral help that came my way. And I hope it's, it doesn't matter who the coach is. If there's some success, there's a lot of people involved. The president that I had for the bulk of my time at East Carolina, Dick Aiken, I cannot tell you how big of a deal he was, and then what a train wreck it was when he left. It was a hand grenade went off when he left, because the leadership, the void in the leadership for the university was catastrophic. And so, all of those things, you're right, it matters. It matters. It matters about the people you know, and lots of people you don't know that were there and are there today that are helping Coach Harrell win, or helping Dave Doran win over at NC State, or lining up, and mark my words, North Carolina University is going to win football games this coming year. And all you folks that have had a great time with the Belichick experiment, just, I could be wrong, but I'll bet you. But there's a lot of people involved, man. It does. It's a coaching football, particularly at the collegiate level. It's like organizing the Fifth Army to go invade the Philippines, like my dad used to say. So anyway, that's all I got for today. We will be back next Thursday at 5. Is that accurate, Philip?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, think up some questions in the meantime, all you folks out there, and I will see you next Thursday, 5 o'clock, right here, and see y'all later. And thanks for the calls. Enjoyed all of them.